second. Hang on a second.
Can't see. So short. All right, sorry.
Bill, last month you guys made Jordan Ship available to us in Chapel Hill, and he's here today. Does that reflect what you've seen from him since you arrived, and what are some of the things about his game that could lead to a breakthrough kind of season?
Well, Jordan's been a great leader for us. He's got a lot of energy, works extremely hard, and he's been a very dependable player for us. So, it's great to have a great connection here, local kid in Charlotte. So, I thought this is
What are some of the things about his skills that kind of pop out to you when you first?
versatile player, play inside, play outside, good hands, smart route runner, very dependable. Quarterbacks love throwing those; they know where he's going to be, and he can come through in some tough situations, catch the ball, take a hit.
Right here on the left, coach. Front row.
The quarterback position's been a topic of conversation for North Carolina fans over the last few months. With Gio being here at Media Day, is he going to be the de facto QB1, or is there still a QB battle going on?
Well, again, neither player took any snaps for us this spring, so it's competitive, and then we have two freshmen. We'll let them compete, see how it goes. I can't control how anybody plays. We'll just give them the opportunity to put them out there, and let them decide. They'll decide.
Back left.
Coach Belichick, Coach Ellis, Prime Town Scouting, also recent K-Max Workshop. I played for you way back in 1994 with Bill Parcells, receiver there. Good to see you again, sir. You're still as quiet as you always been. Want to see, Coach, what's the importance now, even more so when Drew was throwing the ball to us, the long ball and the RPO now?
Well, I mean, look, anytime you can have plays that, shorten the drive. I mean, a 5-play drive instead of a 12-play drive, but you got to convert 4 third downs. You just have a lot better chance of scoring. So, converting big plays, whether it's a long ball or a long run, good tackling versus good defense that eliminate those big plays, just make it a lot harder on the offense. And offensively, when you can hit those big ones, your chances of scoring go up. Percentage-wise, very quickly. So, the RPO game is, let's say, it comes in varying frequency. Some teams, almost everything's an RPO. Other teams will just mix it in there from time to time. Certainly slows down your run force in the secondary as to how quick you can come up there. Same time, though, it's a lot of decision making from the quarterback that has to happen really quickly between, handing it off, sometimes keeping it, or making a quick throw. So I think a lot of that depends on the quarterback's execution and his ability.
On the right here, Coach.
Bill, you mentioned 70 new players in the program, including some since spring. How do you try to build a team in only a couple of weeks when you have that many new players, and how do they even get to know each other?
Yeah, well, they've been training together. We just haven't really played football. So, but yeah, you're right. It's a little bit of a challenge, though. Certainly, we'll have team building activities and things like that, where you kind of get to know your teammates and build some camaraderie and trust. But on the field, it comes from earning that trust from your teammates and being dependable, being where you're supposed to be, so they can be where they're supposed to be, having good communication, working together. A bit like a military boot camp or training camp, where you learn to work with your teammates pretty quickly, or somebody else is working with them. So, we'll see how it goes. But it's not that different from the NFL, as I was saying in there. We a lot of times had 40, 45 new players, 35 new players, whatever it was. That's a lot. But again, time together. If it's really important to you, and they work hard at it, then we'll see improvement quickly.
Right here on the right.
So I guess coming from the NFL, looking at college football, there's a lot of changes, whether it's NIL, there's the structure, governance, and everything that comes with that. I guess when you look at college football more broadly, I guess what do you feel like it needs, if anything, to maybe continue to succeed in the future, or maybe create some kind of consistency, I guess, across the sport?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I think that obviously people like Coach Saban, are much probably better qualified to answer that question than I am. In that for a long time. Kirk Ferentz, people like that have been in college sports. They've also been in the NFL, been in college football, and understand the landscape a little better than I do. Honestly, I'm just right now focused on trying to get our new players, our team, to operate quickly, and maybe after I have a little more experience, I'll have a better opinion on it.
Another one on the right here.
Coach, welcome to Charlotte. I know you'll be back here in a couple of weeks. I know you got a million things on your plate. Can you look ahead a little bit to week 2 when you take on the 49ers in Charlotte here? Do you know a whole lot about them yet?
Well, we have to because it'll be such a short week. We're playing Monday night to Sunday, and it's just not a lot of time there. So we've already looked at them. That's one of our. Anytime you have a short week, one of your off-season projects is to make sure you know as much about the team as you can now. When I say now, May, June, when time isn't as critical as what it's going to be on Wednesday night after the TCU game before the Charlotte game. So we've definitely done some good progress, progressive work on them, and then like we have in the NFL, and I'm sure most college teams have it too. We have certain people in the organization who are working on the next team we play, and so that'll be part of it too. As we go through the training camp process, as news breaks, as to who's playing, who's injured, or whether and so forth, then we'll try to put that into what we already have done. Yes, there's definitely preparation for those short weeks, 100%.
Left in the green.
How you doing, Coach? Colby Dant, College Football Experience. Can you tell us what it means to have your kids on the staff at a place where your dad coached at? And is there any chance in the future of maybe a Navy game?
We'll let Steve and Bubba, take a look at that. But that'd be, I don't know, that'd be tough. But yeah, no, it's great to have your, Brian and Steven on the staff. They've been not only great coaches for me, but been a big help in terms of just organization and I'd say keep me in checking some things that that they've noticed through the years that now for some reason I'm starting to do a little bit differently, and why are we doing that? And probably because I screwed it up. So
you getting
quick to point
flashbacks
that out.
from when you were a kid?
It's a little too early for me to remember. I just remember the stories that they told from when my mom and dad were here with Bill Edwards, who was also on the staff. He was my godfather, and of course my dad coached Bill Coleman here for 3 years. So there's a connection all the way back to the Colemans, and so a few. Wish I could say I remember it better, but one stretch.
On the left front row.
Was there a certain culture or team identity you wanted to establish when you got to UNC, and how was that process going?
Well, we're working through it again with the new players we have. It's a little bit of a continuation, but the guys that have been here, longer, like Ship, like Will Hardy, guys like that, who have been through, several months of it. They're great examples of. Working hard, being dependable, being tough, putting the team first, and being committed to being good, and that's really what it's about.
Is that culture identity, is that just the same as it was in New England, or is it changed because it's a college team?
No, I think fundamentally it's the same. I mean, you earn your teammates' respect for your daily actions, and if you're there all the time and they depend on you and you're accountable and you're a good teammate, then you earn that. It doesn't matter whether you're in the NFL or college or high school or just working in a business, right?
Back center TV.
Coach, during your time with the Patriots, when guys were meeting the standard, you were known to say you might go looking for their replacement at nearby Foxborough High School. So now that you're actually recruiting from high schools, how have your motivation strategies evolved?
Can't use that one anymore. That's the thing about college football is there are no replacements. Like you have what you have. In the NFL, if you lost 3 guards, you can go out and sign 3 guards. Well, that can't happen here. You have to figure out another way to do it. So the rosters are a little bit bigger, the 105-man roster relative to the 53 plus practice squads, so call it 70. You just have to build your roster that way. So, and I think most teams would have 2 long snappers, 2 kickers, 2 punters. If you lose one, you need another one. So, whereas in the NFL, rarely would you carry 2 at a position like that. If you lost one, you'd go out and get another one. So it is a little bit different from that roster building standpoint. You have to think about your depth, and honestly, you have none. You have what you have, and that's it until next season. So there is a little different look at it from there. Yeah, great question.
Your record, Foxborough High School class of 2016.
On the left in the blue.
Coach, as you acclimate to college football, everyone knows that your name carries a lot of weight and influence. Have you given any thought to how the college football playoff system should work? Coming from the NFL, where it was all based on results on the field, where now in college you have a committee of people making that decision. Do you think you'll ever get a chance to weigh in on that, help them kind of get to what we all probably want is it to be determined on the field?
Yeah, I think maybe when I get a little more experience, I can comment on that. Right now, I haven't been through it, and I don't think really it's right for me to comment on. I'll leave that to the commissioner and the athletic directors and the other people, college coaches in our conference have had a little more experience with that.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
On the right here.
Bill, what have you learned about the experience of being a head football coach in college that you didn't know, before, that maybe you heard about talking to me and Kirk and asking questions?
I don't think there's too much I didn't know. I'd say the number of players, the volume of players is a lot. Camps, campus camps, 7-on-7 camps, things like that. Recruiting, you're recruiting multiple classes at the same time. So right now we're recruiting 26s, right, for next year. But you've got to get in on the 27s and the 28s, or by the time you do, they're already too far down the road with someone else. So if you want them, you got to start getting in on them early, and then you have the transfer portal, which is, in the NFL, realistically, it's maybe a couple hundred players. In college football, it's a couple thousand players. So the volume of players is a lot more. And I'd say, in the NFL, you have a pretty standard level of competition. Everybody plays each other. Well, again, in college football, you have so many different teams, conferences, levels that you don't get that same consistent level of play. So you have to, gauge how would this player do, be played up into, a Power 4 conference, or how would this player do in a different style of offense, defense. There's more similarity in the NFL.
On the right.
Coach, going off of that, what is your philosophy on trying to introduce NFL level schemes and concepts to college players without overwhelming them?
That's exactly what we're trying to do. That's my philosophy. So we're running it's a pro program, practice, training, food, schemes, terminology. It's all pro program. Not to the extent that we did it in the NFL. There'll be fewer plays, fewer adjustments, but it will be along those lines, and we'll use what we need. There's some things that I don't think we're going to need at this level, and there's other things that we are based on hash marks and things like that that are a little bit different. The overtime system, red area could potentially come up a lot more than it did in the NFL on a percentage basis. So things like that you just have to, take into consideration. But fundamentally, we're going to do as much as we can at a pro system without it overloaded.
Right behind him.
Coach, the football is football no matter what the level, but the recruiting aspect of college sports is quite different. Are you finding yourself in lots of living rooms? Like, how do you approach that aspect?
Yeah, so no, because if I was, that would be recruiting violations.
What has been your strategy with?
Yeah, so I can only be out, we can only be out 1 month as head coach, only be out 1 month. So, they come to us, and so we recruit from on campus. But yeah, honestly, it's been great. I have a ton of respect for high school coaches and what they do for developing players. They're an important part of the process. The parents, obviously, or relatives, whoever it happens to be, in each person's individual case, how important it is for them to trust their son with us, and earning that trust through our relationships that we build from the assistant coaches, our staff members, and obviously the head coach, with the families of the recruits. So, but it's been a great process, and I've enjoyed, watching those players, meeting their coaches and their families. And our players, these 4 guys in particular, have done a great job in hosting the recruits that have come in. Talking to them about what's real, what in terms of campus life, academics, football, what the expectations are, and really that's what we want to do in recruiting, just be authentic. This is who we are. We're not going to really change too much. If this works for you, this is a great place. If it doesn't, then honestly, you're better off going somewhere else. And so we're not trying to overhype or oversell something we can't deliver. We're trying to sell who we are, and I think a lot of people want that, but for the ones that don't, it's better for both of us that they go somewhere else.
On the left, in the black.
Coach, you mentioned Mike Shanahan in your intro as one of the coaches who made you better. Why do you feel like he hasn't gotten any or very little consideration for the Hall of Fame?
Well, I think he should, but I mean, 2 Super Bowl championships, and I mean, Mike did a great job. He and Alex Gibbs really developed that zone running game that almost every team in football runs today. It's not just wins and losses, but I would say his contributions to the game. Obviously, his son Kyle is a great coach in his family, but I thought Mike was tremendous. We always had a hard time with defending Mike, and again, I became a better coach having to work against Mike and Mike's schemes. When it was Denver, and then later on when he went to Washington. So I think he should be 100%. I think he should be in Hall of Fame.
Right there on the left again.
Go Eagles. I appreciate that.
Is there any story that you can share about the line where you felt like that learning moment come from him?
Oh, plenty of them. Bill did I thought he did a great job for me. I mean, he made a tremendous investment in himself. He left a coordinator position to come in as basically a quality control coach for the New England Patriots, and that worked out for him to become a coordinator in a couple of years. When Josh left, and so the investment that he made in himself and the confidence he had in himself to go from a coordinator position to honestly kind of low man on the totem pole at the Patriots, and then to rise back to that same position and then turn that into the head coaching job at Penn State was really that's what a lot of good coaches do. That's what Josh did. That's what Matt Patricia did. That's what Brian Dable did. That's what a lot of those guys, Nick Casario, a lot of those guys did that. Now you see a lot of these kids, they just want to skip that. They want to start at coordinator level, assistant general manager, assistant to the president, and then in a couple of years they're ready to take over whatever it is. And honestly, when you start at the bottom, you learn a lot more about how things work, how the organization works, and then as you move up, you understand what's going on, underneath you. So I have a ton of respect for Bill for what he did and what he did at Penn State, what he did at Houston, and then when he came back to Alabama, and then when he came back to us, a couple of years ago in New England. So you love Bill's toughness, you love his competitiveness, and his players respond to that.
Second row in the center.
Hi, Coach Belichick, Jen Lewis, 3 Chicks in a Pod, New Stitch Media. And a 2-for question, if that's okay. How did you come up with the idea for putting all of the NIL money into a pot, so to speak, and for y'all to just divvy it up? And
I'm sorry, how did
you come up with the idea to put all of the NIL money for the football program into a pot for you to kind of divvy it up amongst the players? Because that was pretty ingenious.
There's a lot of different components to paying players, I would say, and honestly, Mike Lombardi is the one who really handles a lot of that and the logistics of it, and honestly, I would defer that question to Mike. Sorry.
Second row on the left.
Coach, this is Thomas Christopher from the League Winners. The NCAA and House settlement, one of the fallouts of that is essentially more or less the death of the walk-on college athlete. And as a head coach, you've coached some great ones in Matthew Slater, Russ Welker, and countless others. Can I get your opinion on what that impact might be in college sports going forward?
Well, again, this is definitely above my pay grade decisions on that, but I would say you're right that the walk-ons are gone, but the scholarships went from 85 to 105, and so a lot of those kids that walked on between 85 and 105 previously are now scholarship. So I would actually say it's a better situation for, let's call it 20 kids per school times how many schools we got, right? I mean, you're talking about a lot more scholarships. Granted, we lose some walk-ons, but we also gain, the scholarships for some of those kids who weren't financially able to do the walk-on program, that they're now going to get, scholarships. So, I don't know, whatever that number is. I mean, it's, how many schools are playing, how many schools get scholarships. I mean, you're talking about that's a lot of scholarships. So, I'm not sure that the trade-off is a bad one, I'll just say that. I understand where you're coming from, though, and I respect the whole walk-on program, but a lot of those walk-ons would have fallen in that 85 to 105 and then earned a scholarship. Well, now they're scholarships.
Front row on the right here.
Yes.
Bill, with your coaching staff, I mean, you talk about O'Brien and worked for you several times, Josh worked for you several times, you put together a staff of a lot of guys that you know well. Why was that sort of already established knowledge and work in putting together your coaching staff here?
One more time.
I terribly asked the question, sorry. Well, I'll ask it this way. How did you go about assembling your coaching staff, and what were the traits that you were looking for in specific guys to assemble the full staff?
Well, a lot of our coaches have NFL experience, which is something to look at. It's not a necessity. Some of them have a lot of college experience, guys like Will Friend. And of course, Will worked and played with Freddie, and I think it's important for the offensive coordinator and the offensive line coach to have a good relationship, a good working relationship. That's an important one. Bob has a ton of experience. Bob Diaco has a ton of experience in college football, former head coach. He's been a defensive coordinator, most recently at LSU. So, I feel like the staff that we have has a lot of college experience. Garrett McGee, at Louisville, worked for us for a little bit at New England, coaching all the major conferences. So there's a lot of good college experience there, as well as some pro experience. So it's really a combination of a younger staff, some younger people, some NFL people, and some people with good college experience. And so I think it's all kind of fits together.
Back middle.
Good.
You said once that the secret, one of the secrets to success is adaptability, and adapt to real time and also that football is a lot like life.
Yes.
One must learn to pivot in certain types of things. So since you've been at North Carolina, in what areas have you had to adapt or pivot?
Well, again, I think the adaptability evolves like daily, every year, every situation. So as you learn more about your team, you make some adjustments. As you face different opponents, you modify what you're doing to defend their strengths or attack their weaknesses, however you want to look at it. I just think that's part of coaching, and there are a lot of things out there we can't control. The weather, injuries, things like that. You have to be willing to, to figure out what. Now that this event has happened, now what? What do we do? How do we work through it? So, not every player has to be adaptable, but you do have to have some players who are adaptable, so you can make those shifts when you need to. Those are valuable players.
We've got time for two more. We're going to go back left and then finish on the front right here.
Coach, you went from turning Rodney Harrison to Brown to now, high school kids going into classrooms. I'm just curious, what has it been like, having those in-school visits and going around the state and talking to the teenage teachers? What have you learned from them?
Yeah, the in-school visits were great. As a school that recruits nationally, there was plenty in North Carolina, but also we were in, Tennessee, New England, the Eastern Coast, Florida, IMG, and so forth. So, the DC, Baltimore area. So, it's a cross section. We're not just recruiting one area, but certainly there are plenty of good players in North Carolina. And again, it's great to get out and meet those coaches, many who played in the championship games in December, in Kenan Stadium. So to actually, talk to those people in person, see their players. it's been good. Again, a lot of them came to our camps as well. So developing a good relationship with the high school coaches in Carolina is a top priority for us. And obviously recruiting the players is part of that.
Last question, front right.
Thank you.
Coach Phil Bender, Sporting News. All those years when you were studying college draft prospects for the NFL, was there something that maybe in the back of your mind drew you to college football and the uniqueness of it that was maybe a little bit different than the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, I've always, always wanted to coach in college. I grew up in college football, and I tried to go into college football, and that didn't really work out, so I ended up, in the NFL with the Colts, and that worked out fine. But then this past year, as I said, I was able to go to multiple college games, multiple high school games, and I really enjoyed the process, and I really enjoyed watching college film as being a college coach, or high school film as a college coach, not just watching college film who can play in the NFL. And so I spent a decent amount of time doing that last year, and as this opportunity evolved, Michael and I, we worked together on the podcast and we talked about it. It was really something that we both felt very strongly about, that there are a lot of similarities to pro football, but Carolina is such a great place, such a great opportunity that we felt like this is a good one.
Thank you, everybody.